Welcome to Ergopathics discussion about the multipliers kit. And we had a live session for the Facebook group. And so I'm just recording this secondarily so that everybody has a chance to get some information about the multipliers kit. So I'll just jump right in. The kit it's a 30 vial sized kit. It was created many years ago, and I got my um, uh, kit in 2007. It's created by John Hanson, who originally created Ergopathics many years ago. So today we're going to look at what are the multipliers and how can we use them. And there are two ways that I know of at the moment for how to use them. And so just a quick note about me that I've used muscle testing, applied kinesiology in the vials since that time, and just studied electroacupressure, body talk, et cetera, all using pretty simple forms of muscle testing, which can nevertheless be very effective. So for people with BICOM or RANX, other technologies, I hope that there's information here also for you in how to use these vials. It should be quite applicable. So this is the multipliers kit. It ranges from 6x to 1000 M. And as you can see, I'll just use my cursor here that we've got 3C and 200C on the website, as well as the other 30 vials. And these are potency frequencies, and they're signatures. Another way of saying it, they're signatures or frequencies of homeopathic potencies. And today, as I mentioned, we're going to look at least one novel way of using them, and I call it the Hanson method, and I'll describe it later on in the slides. And these multipliers, the homeopathic potency vials, should be paired, and they're always paired with another vial or a couple of vials. And they are quite clearly based on Samuel Hahnemann's original homeopathic principles of over 200 years ago, which was an amazing method and system that he created. He was a physician who was very dissatisfied with the way doctors were treating patients. For example, for the great pox, which was syphilis at the time, doctors would prescribe doses of some form of mercury, which would clear the infection, but more often than not would actually kill the patient. So Hahnemann was very keen to find another way of helping people, I would presume. And he devised or discovered, I guess, a concept that he called like cures like. And what he saw was that symptoms of an illness would mirror those created by a particular poison. So if we take arsenic, for example, which is toxic, poisonous, he found that the symptoms of arsenic poisoning could mirror those of another illness. But if he found that if he diluted the arsenic, the substance, or the aconite, just use that as another example. It's a plant with toxic properties. If you dilute it in water or alcohol, that a dose of this diluted substance can potentially, if it mirrors the symptoms and the experiences of the person who's unwell, could help relieve or neutralize somehow the symptoms. This is what he discovered. And so there's a lot of experimentation that went on, and an amazing history. I'm sure there are homeopaths out there that are very well versed in this, because it takes a lot of study and a lot of years and a lot of patience to learn this and to come up with a remedy in homeopathy that is tailored, and it is a tailored approach to that person's symptoms. So in Hahnemann's system, obviously he had a number and a Roman numeral. So for instance, 30x, which is 100, 30c, 10, 30c is 100, and 30m, which is 1000, assigned to increasing dilution. So he would have that substance, arsenic or aconite, and dilute it over and over again until obviously there is no trace of that substance in the diluted solution. Only the memory or the vibration of it would remain. So the original substance we would refer to as the mother tincture without dilution, but again, further dilutions creating different potencies. And so again, here's the system he created. And I'm not going to explore, how a potency is created, but suffice to say that the more it is diluted, and it's highly, highly diluted, the greater the potency. And the potency should not is not equated with strength. It's not the same thing as strength. Rather, its action is changed. So potency is defined by its action, how it affects the individual in the context of that session for that homeopath, as an example. And so the choice, again, is relevant to the case in which it's used. It's highly tailored. So the multipliers are the frequencies of the specific potencies. The homeopathic kits that you'll see on the Ergopathic website would be considered the mother tinctures. And so when you pair them, the potency with the mother tincture, it is again tailored within the context of that muscle testing session for that individual. But before we get to that, I just wanted to start with the first example of how to use a multiplier, which I, like you, I was so curious about this kit. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't really understand it. And so I emailed John Hanson, and he sent me an email. And the way he explained it was that in the context of an intense stressor, and a stressor obviously can be any frequency, any energetic thing that stresses an individual. So I'm just going to use an example here of someone who may have a stressor of an enzyme. Here I've got lactase. So let's use this as our example of an intense stressor, and someone is really struggling with this energetically. What if it is intense? It can produce, he suggested to me, harmonic frequencies of its primary frequency signature. So the multipliers, using the multipliers, can help address those harmonics. And he gave me an analogy of those harmonic frequencies. So if you hit the note C on a piano, it will resonate or make vibrate the other C keys on the piano. So you'll have multiple harmonic frequencies. Another analogy, and maybe even simpler, that he would use static. If you're in your car driving, got your radio on, and you go past a radio tower, that your radio station can become, you would lose it, become more staticky. So in using the multipliers can help clarify and make a session more successful. So in my context, I'd be muscle testing, and I would find that, and here's sort of the how-to, as I'm muscle testing my client and I bring the stressor to the client, they would lose all strength in that session. So after clearing and working with them, I'm still finding that they're not really strong after our session. So in muscle testing, to find a multiplier that can help clarify the stressor, I go through the whole kit. So I have the client with the stressor, I pair it up one at a time with the multiplier, and I find the one that makes that response rock solid. And so this is in my muscle testing, so just as an example here. So when I find the multiplier that makes that strong, I do the clearing, and my clearing might be using a bioresonance device. It might be just even simple tapping. But I would do the clearing with both the multiplier and the stressor. And this is in a muscle testing session, again, just to be clear. So that is what I would call, I guess, the John Hanson method of using the multipliers, and that was the one that I was first presented with. And it can be very helpful in those situations where something's very intense. So moving forward, however, to the two homeopathic kits that are available on the Ergopathics website, it can be used in the same way. And again, all of this depends on the person who, obviously, with your client, they have individual needs. And again, this is very, very tailored, that if you are muscle testing the mother tinctures in the homeopathic kits, you find one that causes that weakness. And again, if it's an intense kind of situation with that stressor, you would consider pairing it up again with one of the multipliers. So you can end up with, let's say, a Rs alb, um, and your muscle testing, and you find 30C, for example, will result in that Rs alb becoming rock solid at 30C. And so again, you would just proceed from there to the session, the modality that you use, whether it's tapping or whatever your modality might be. And of course, afterwards, once you've done that, retesting the stressor in muscle testing is, of course, essential so that you know what has shifted energetically. So those are two uses of the multipliers, one in the case of the John Hanson method with clarifying multiple harmonics or static, and the other with the homeopathic signatures that are on the website. So thank you so much. I realize this was a very short video here with the slides, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out through the Facebook group or email. And thanks very much. And I look forward to helping you further with any questions.